Hello there, World of Tankers, I'm World of Blitz, and welcome to the channel. Hopefully all of you are doing well out there. I'm of course your host, World Blitz, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about two of the weirdest tanks in World of Tanks Blitz, the Vindicator Ultramarines, and as well the Predator Ultramarines. These of course are both Tier 7 vehicles, the Predator being a Tier 7 heavy tank, and the Vindicator being a Tier 7 tank destroyer, as you could probably guess. Now both of these tanks have come into the stores today for the price tag of $25.99 if you wanted to buy them together, and as well $15 if you wanted to buy them separately. Now, while I would say that's not a terrible deal for getting your average Tier 7 vehicle for $15 and together at $25, the issue is it's these two tanks. And I will say, the Predator isn't actually a terrible vehicle. I definitely would say after power creep, it's not necessarily the best, but one thing that is fantastic on this vehicle is the gun. It has crazy amounts of damage per minute for an auto-loading tank, 2,500. It has a 1.5 second shell interclip reload, and that means that in a matter of 3 seconds, you've dealt around 560 damage with the 180 damage per shot this vehicle has. Pretty dang impressive. But the Vindicator, oh boy, this is a tank that I actually like just because of how bad it is. The Vindicator is possibly one of the worst tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. So there's many reasons that support this feature. First of all, it is the gun depression. Tanks like the WZ-120, the Tier 9 Chinese medium tank, wishes that it had this bad of gun depression because it's literally sitting at 2 degrees. 2 degrees on this tank. It is terrible. The WZ-120 is sitting at 3 degrees, and the Vindicator wishes it had that much. Not only does this tank have literally no gun depression, which makes it useless on any amount of ridgeline, also the tank only shoots heat shells, which means that if there's a smallest amount of fence, rubble, that literal haystack there, that scarecrow sticking out, will stop these shells from my Vindicator hitting the enemy tank. So yeah, that's fantastic. Not only that, but the dispersion on move is 0.453. Again, terrible. So literally the Vindicator has not a lot of things going for it. I actually can't push it up to that ridge there, which I normally would in some tank destroyers, maybe like the SU-152, because of course you can work that ridge, but yeah, this tank I can't because it doesn't have the gun depression to actually work it. Quite sad, but yeah, so I've literally got to sit all the way back here and see if the enemy tanks want to make the mistake of pulling out, because that is just how fantastic the Vindicator is. Now, I will say, there is one thing I like about the tank, and that is the gun's damage. It does do 640 damage, and as we all know, 640 is that big, lovely number that you all want to deal in a Tier 8 game. You know, that's going to rip the enemy to pieces if you do manage to hit a shot. But notice how I said do manage to hit a shot, because again, this is the Vindicator. This is not an accurate tank by any means, and trying to hit a shot in this vehicle is like a miracle. But you know what? We did end up hitting one right on that SU-152, and I can tell you, oh, that hurt that guy quite a bit. Thankfully, there's one advantage this vehicle has, and that is being shot at by enemy Tier 7 tank destroyers like the SU, because those tanks don't necessarily have great penetrating guns as it is. They don't have great accuracy. It actually is quite hard to penetrate the Vindicator when you are aiming at it with a vehicle like this, but that Luva most likely gonna go, oh, you know what, we got one of the most ridiculous bounces. I think he shot right at he missed the weak spot. The biggest weak spot I will say on the Vindicator is right at the cupola on the top. You can easily penetrate that with any opponents you're aiming at. It literally makes it so that there's no armor on the tank, but apparently the enemy does not know that right off the bat, because we are getting some very lucky bounces here. We've actually had 2 bounces. Now that T-26, oh, he actually did not shoot at the side of us here, but I've got to try and penetrate a shell on him. And as you can see, that's going to be quite a hard shot. Yeah, there you go. That 0.45 dispersion going into play there, being fantastic with me. And my team is not doing the best, I can tell you that. But again, I'm going to try the best I can here. We've got that SU-152 off to the side, and let's see if we can finish him off. Let's get a shell in. Boom. Finishing off that SU-152, that is definitely something that I can be happy about. We got the SU-130PM pushing quite aggressive here, and I'm not really sure what to do as of right now. Our team is completely falling apart, and honestly, I can't even blame the Vindicator for this battle here. We've done the best we can, and it's not a terrible result at that for what I've been doing here. It's just that, yeah, the tank really hasn't been doing the best of battles. Now let's aim in right on that. Oh yeah, I can't shoot through that, of course, because I don't have the ability to. So let's maybe get a shot into this Luva's turret. No, again, that 0.453 dispersion letting me down there. We've got the E75 TS to the side of me, and ooh, we actually did get a nice bounce there at least. And let's try and back up before we are hit by a tank like the Luva here. Oh, come on, back up. I believe in you, tank. Oh, yeah, but that gun depression really loving me there. So, we can't hit the side of the Luva, of course, because we don't have the ability to. But you know what? There we go. I meant the E75 TS, but that is it. that was the entire game played by the Vindicator. So it pretty much showed how the tank plays. I don't even want to bother to get another game out in the tank because it's really not worth it. So the thing about the Vindicator is, as you saw there, I literally didn't have enough gun depression. I had to wedge the tank on the wall to be able to shoot the tanks because that's just how bad the gun depression is. The tank is one of the most unflexible vehicles in the game, and that makes it very, very unenjoyable, or unenjoyable, should I say. It's just not a great tank. If I was in the SU-152, we probably could have had a way better chance of winning that battle. And while I can't necessarily blame the tank that game because the enemy team really did blow it as well, or at least my team blew it, we still did do top on the team. But yeah, I can definitely say that the Vindicator is not a great tier 7 vehicle, and I would never suggest for anybody to buy this or even give it to their greatest enemies because it literally sucks in every single aspect. You'd think that a plow would make it very strong, but no. It literally only weighs about 40 tons or so, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it weighs 42 tons. Now, 42 tons for a super heavily armored tank is not very good because it doesn't really have armor. In fact, any heavy tank that rams you will always come out on top. I've been rammed by light tanks and lost more hit points in that vehicle. Now, as I said, the Predator is actually a very deadly tank. The gun on this vehicle I actually can't complain about. In fact, the Predator isn't a terrible tank to play. The only issue I have is, why did these tanks exist in World of Tanks Blitz? There's really no reason for it. The Smasher, I kind of understand why it exists. It doesn't look like it's completely out of place. It's built after the KV-2, but the Predator literally is this ugly futuristic tank that's got a machine gun on the side. It is possibly, again, one of the ugliest tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. It doesn't fit with any of the World War II features. I think Wargaming, the only reason they did it is because they were paid by Warhammer, because, yeah, you can definitely agree that this, again, is just one of the ugliest tanks in the game. It's tall, yeah, no thank you. But the real question is this a good tank to get because of the gun? And, well, you're going to be finding out here, because I actually like the tank because of that gun. You can still see that the gun depression isn't the best. It's one thing that neither of these tanks can boast about, but at least this tank has enough gun depression to where it's actually flexible in some scenarios, you know. But if an E25 face hugs you, well, that's pretty much the end of your game because you can see how tall this tank is. Now, you've got the Jagdpanzer IV off to the side here, and we can actually aim right in on his tank. We actually killed his engine there. And let's go for that track wheel. There you go. So that was 585 damage clipped right into that Jagdpanzer in 3 seconds. And as you can see, that was literally an entire tank taken out in a couple seconds. That is where the Predator becomes extremely dangerous if you play it correctly. We got the KV-2 off to the side, which I'm not able to hit. We also got that SU, which there's one shell at least into the side of that SU-152. I'll take it. You know, it's not the worst amount of damage here. We also got that T-3045, but I'll currently reload the clip because we're not going to be shooting at anybody anytime soon. It looks like the Smasher is going to be pulling off to the side here, and if he does, I would love to be able to get a couple shots into him, but as well, I need to clear the enemy vehicles that are off to this side over here. So is the Smasher over here? It does not look like it, actually. Okay, so that is really good for me. Oh, yes, okay, the Smasher is not currently there, which means now we can use the 30 km/h top speed that this tank does have to try and start shooting the enemy tanks. So there's one into the 34. There's two finishing off the T-3485. While that Smasher is dealing with those tanks, again, I can push in here and try and get out some of the other vehicles. We got the AFK Dracula, it would appear, all the way on the other side of the map. And now we got a tank like that Bulldog. There's one shell into the Bulldog. There's two. And again, there is 3 extremely deadly shots into that Bulldog. You can definitely see where the gun on this tank is extremely deadly. It just keeps on giving. The gun just hurts and it hurts. And again, like this Dracula is AFK, we're able to whip off a massive chunk of HP. Again, 550 hit points there in a singular clip. And that's where this tank really is, a true deadly vehicle on the enemy battlefield. It just keeps shooting. There you go, another 2 shells into that Dracula, finishing him off. Now we can start reloading the clip and shooting at the enemy Smasher. And even while the Smasher does have one of the deadliest guns in World of Tanks, honestly, my gun, in my opinion, is way deadlier just because of what it does to the enemy vehicles. Again, we're able to get at least one of them into there. So that was 2 shots into that Smasher. Again, even while we didn't penetrate all of them, that still was a very large amount of hit points, about 350 we managed to take off of him. And you can see, compared to the IS's reload, we have a massive advantage here. And oh yeah, you can see that gun depression though. Definitely hard to get some shots on like the hull of that Smasher, but even then, that was a pretty solid game, 3,300 damage there, so it was definitely a good example of how the gun on the Predator works. If played in the correct scenarios on flat ground where you can run the tank correctly, the gun is fantastic. It just keeps hurting and giving out that damage. 2,500 damage per minute, 540-ish damage per clip is extremely deadly when it gets it all out in a matter of 3 seconds. So personally, personally, I think that the Predator is actually a decent Tier 7 vehicle. Now, is it worth the price tag of $15? My personal opinion, no. Just because of how ugly these tanks are, and also because they don't really belong in the World of Tanks Blitz universe. I personally don't think that this tank really exists, or should exist, in the Blitz game, and it's still not really a great tank because you saw a Tier 7 battle where everything goes well. You can imagine where in a very hilly terrain like Oasis Palms, where the Vindicator and as well the Predator would be extremely unflexible and just completely fall apart with the lack of gun depression and the massive sides they have. So yeah, that's my personal opinion on both of these vehicles. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, but let me know what you guys think. Of course, if you enjoyed today's video and you want to see more like it, please make sure to smash that subscribe button down below. But other than that, hopefully all of you are doing well out there. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.